guys, it's me, B, with another video, and today we're going to be reviewing the dual brush pens, Tombow Pastel colors palette. So in here there are 9 markers and then 1 blender. So some first things are that these are water-based markers, and they have a fine tip and a brush point. They are used for calligraphy, hand lettering, watercolor, and illustrations. So let's get them open. So as you open them up, you can see each marker has the felt tip, and then the fine point tip. So the first marker we'll be testing out is 761. So it's a really nice pastel pink. The next marker is 723, which is a darker pink. This one's also more vibrant. Then there's this orange, which is 991. So it's actually more of a golden than an orange. So wouldn't really call this orange, which might pose a problem if I'm trying to do a rainbow scheme, because it's more of a yellow. But the actual yellow in the pack is 062. And is a nice soft yellow. Next, there's this green, which is 243. I'd call it like a mint green. Then there's this light blue, which is number 451, which really is a pastel blue. Then we have this darker blue, which is 452, which is still a light blue, but more vibrant, kind of like the pink. Then we have this grayish purple, which is 553. Which really isn't that gray. Never mind. It's more of a violet, like a bluish purple. And then we have this nice purple, which is 620. And this too is a very nice pastel purple. So these are all the colors, and then there is the blendy pen thing, which we will have to try out. So I think to test out the blendy tool, I'm going to use the 2 purples because they're the most similar, and then if it does a good job, I'll probably do it between the blues because I feel like that's a bigger contrast. So I'm not really sure how to do this, but I think you start out with the lighter color, so that's what we're gonna do. And then I take the darker color, overlap it a little bit, bring it back. Okay, so I haven't even blended them together yet, and it's not that bad of a blend. Like, it's obviously not like super clean and stuff, but yeah, it worked actually quite nicely. I think it like lightens up the color. So this is with the blending tool, and this is without the blending tool. And then if we do it between 2 with bigger extremes, we'll take the light blue first. Then we'll take the dark blue. So that's without the blending tool. And then if we do it with the blending tool, it's not really blending. Wait, there we go. Nice blend. And then if I drag that through there, if you see that line, how it like made it lighter, if you see that, so I think the pens blend quite nicely without the blending tool. However, the blending tool does work and all that fun stuff, but it lightens up the color. So on the box there's this cake, and so I think I'm going to use the cake for some inspiration, and I'm going to just make a little illustration using the Tombow Pastel color set, and then I'm also going to use a black fine liner. Maybe I won't. So yeah, let's get some thumbnailing. So I'm starting with thumbnailing. First, I just make the shape of the shape that I'm going to draw in. So my paper is a square, so I made a square shape. So using inspiration from the box, I decided to go with a cake because I was very in an uncreative mood and I couldn't think of things that were rainbow besides a rainbow. So I went with a cake, except I had it standing up, and I really did not like the order of the colors that the cake was in, so I think I'm also going to change that. But anyway, I started out by just doing a small sketch of the cake and putting it in a plate, and then once I was like, okay, I'm happy with that, I made the cake bigger so that I could focus on like the detail and see how I would space things out. And so I was practicing with the dimensions and what size I wanted the triangle to be, and it took me a while to become satisfied with the shape, but I ended up going with pretty much the original shape. So after all that work, nothing really changed. So then I went in with drawing the icing, and I did a thin line on the top and bottom, and then I did a thick line, a thin line, a thick line, and then a thin line, and I made sure the thin lines, I erased the icing line, that way you could see that it was part of the icing, and then I added in the plate. Because I was at an angle, I didn't make it too circular, but this one was a little ovular, a little too ovular, if that's a word, so I think I'm going to change that when I do the actual drawing. So I just spent some more time on that, and then once I was satisfied, I started the real thing. So I started by drawing my cake shape all over again, and I made it much bigger than I wanted it to be. That way I would have enough space to draw in all the layers. I also switched the side of the cake, so before I had the point on the other side, and this time I have it on this side. Yeah, if that makes sense. So I once again started with putting in the icing. I did the top and the bottom, and then I drew the thin lines in between each of the thick lines, making sure to erase the back part so that it looked cohesive. And then for the very end of the cake, like where the triangle point is, I just left the line there. So I ended up putting in 6 rows because I didn't want to do 2 shades of purple, and I didn't want to use all the colors in the cake. I just wanted to use 6 of them, so I just erased what was left over and made space for the plate. So this time, because I wasn't happy with the plate last time, I tried to make it more circular so it wasn't as ovular, and I also put in a rim to give it some more dimension. Though you can't see what I'm doing right now, I put in a candle and then added some frosting speckles to give it some more dimension. Then using my kneaded eraser, I went over and erased everything, just to make, because the Tombow brush pens won't cover up the pencil lines, so I made sure to erase them. And then you can't see what I'm doing, now you can, but I basically just blotched in some colors super messily just to see how they would look wherever. And so I just did the first 4 colors. I tried using the fine point versus the brush pen, and you can see how the fine point made a darker color on that orange area. And so I looked at it. I wasn't really liking how the green was like looking with the orange, but I was like, maybe once I have all the colors in, it'll look better. So I decided, I was thinking about using a pen, but then I decided against it, and then I just wanted to use the Tombow brush pens. So I started out by using the light pink as an icing for the icing, and I didn't want to make a sharp edge where it was cut, so I tried to make it a little more gentle, and then I drew in all the lines, making sure to connect them where the cake parts were, although I messed that up a couple times, as you can see, but it's not that prominent when I start coloring it, so it wasn't that big of a deal. Then I went in with the brush nib and started filling in the wider areas. Because they are water-based markers, they are somewhat streaky, so that was a con. And I also wasn't very good at using them. As you can see, my lines are really uneven. So I'm hoping that as practice comes, I'll get better. But they are harder to control because the nibs aren't as firm. And the more pressure you add, the thicker the line. But yeah, I really messed up with the green. But other than that, it wasn't too bad. But I really enjoyed using them, and the colors were super vibrant. Although I really wish the orange was orange well. So then I used the fine point on the dark blue to go around and make the plate, and then I used the light blue to add some highlights, and then I decided just to make it a rim, and it didn't look too good. Then I made the mistake of thinking of making a shadow, and I didn't block it out with a pencil, so it didn't turn out very well, and I was like, God darn it. So then I went in with the darker blue so I could like make it darker in certain areas to make it more obvious that it was a shadow. And then I was like, oh no, it's too dark. So I went in with the blending tool and tried to soften up the lines, which it did kind of do, but not really. And then I just went over the entire piece with the blending tool for no apparent reason, and it didn't really do anything, so it was fine in the end. Then using the orange in quotation marks, I colored in the candle and used a black pen for the wick. And then because a lot of people use Tombow brush pens for calligraphy, I gave it my best shot. It's not amazing, but you can see that they do work quite well for calligraphy, and in the future I might make a video about that. And then I also am thinking about doing one about watercolor, so let me know how you feel about that in the comments down below. So after using the brush pens for different purposes like calligraphy and drawing and coloring, I've come to the conclusion that these were a great buy. Like Crayola markers, they're streaky when you color in, and they're also harder to control, hence my awful coloring job. So that is something I am going to have to work on, but I think if you can get it right, it can turn out really nicely. They're really nice for calligraphy and hand lettering. I've yet to try the watercolor aspect of them, but maybe I'll do that next. As for the actual colors themselves, I don't think the orange really goes well with the other colors, mainly because it isn't very orange. I also don't really love the green. However, it's not something I'm like dying over, so I think it's like okay. However, they do sell other packs, so I think you should buy the pack that has the colors you like the best. So I'll see you guys next week, and I hope you like this video. Bye!